21 is now in. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good morning. I'm Gary Merrill, President of the Board this year. To my left is Commissioner Barb Lewis, Vice President, and to my right is fellow Commissioner Jeff Fitton. Deputy Administrator Don Houston's with us today, as well as our clerks, Sarah and Jennifer. Let's begin.
Resolution number 21-870, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held September 20th, 2021.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 21-870. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment today, so item number 3, resolution number 21-871, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0924.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 21-871. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Now, we have a retirement tribute for Mike Taylor today, and I believe we're going to hear from Mr. Balzer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
morning.
I'm Jeff Balzer, Chief Deputy with the Sheriff's Office. With me is retired Corrections Officer Mike Taylor.
You don't look old enough to retire.
I know.
As you can tell, he's gotten into the retirement last week, and good for him. Mike Taylor retired from the Sheriff's Office on Friday, September 17th, after more than 20 years of service, dedicated service. Mike attended Olentangy schools and graduated from Buckeye Valley High School. Following his graduation from high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. While he was in the Navy, he was stationed in Hawaii, and his job was as an explosive ordnance disposal technician. Yeah, that means basically his job was to render safe explosive devices. Following his service with the Navy, Mike joined the Sheriff's Office in 2001 as a corrections officer. He was a member of the Sheriff's Office dive team when we used to have a dive team. He, as part of those duties, he recovered items of evidence and other things, bodies sometimes, from area waterways. A few years back, we decided we needed a full-time training officer for the jail and held interviews, and Mike rose to the top right away. He was selected as our first full-time training officer for the jail and did a great job of training his fellow COs and also the deputies in the office. He trained people throughout the office. Mike trained COs and deputies in defensive tactics and in numerous other areas. He is married to Tanya. Mike has a daughter, a stepdaughter, and a stepson, and his stepson also works at the jail as a corrections officer. Mike will be missed for the calm leadership he brought to the jail and his constant desire to take on additional duties to assist the Sheriff's Office and his fellow employees, and he will be missed. Mike, I invite you to say anything you'd like to.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, welcome.
It's one correction for the record was I wasn't ordnance disposal. I built ordnance, so that was building.
You built the things.
Yeah. So I was just an ordnance technician. I had a great career in Delaware County, loved Delaware County. It's kind of sad for me to leave and watch a lot of people that, you know, I've helped up along the way and I've built a lot of good relationships with, to kind of just like let that be a part of my past is kind of difficult. But I know that everyone there is in great hands, and it's a good county to work for. I had a great career, so I just want to thank everyone.
Well, somebody just walked in. I'm going to make an assumption he has something to say. So is that a good assumption?
That's a good assumption. Have you spoken yet?
I have.
Okay. It was bittersweet Friday when we recognized Mike Taylor. I think on occasion it's important that the commissioners who fund our office see the quality of employees that you folks really support. And listen, I've said it once, I've said it. He's already grown his beard. That's a retiree's dream, is to grow a beard. If I've said it once, I've said it 10 times or 100 times. We got to find more Mike Taylor's. Consummate professional. It's a tough job to do in that environment, and he's done it at the highest level, and has probably been recognized previously. He's one of the first ones, the first ever corrections officer that was appointed the position of a training instructor, because Mike's wealth of knowledge and the way he does that job need to be passed on. So we're going to miss his legacy. We wish him nothing but the best. We thank you for continuing to support the Sheriff's Office and assure you and the taxpayers we're trying our best to find people like Mike Taylor. So thanks for allowing us a few minutes to recognize corrections officer, retired corrections officer Mike Taylor. So,
Mr. Lewis, have anything
did I
to
interrupt
add?
you?
No, you didn't.
Yes. Boy, I'd like to, I just wanted you to come in. You have done the tough jobs, and you did them so well. I mean, you deserve all the accolades that we could ever give you, and much more. And I just want to thank you so much for your service, and wow, you do look awfully young to be retired, but that's a plus. Yeah, that's great, but thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Benton?
Yeah, just for the record, the previous speaker was our Sheriff Martin. Since you didn't get introduced officially.
Oh,
but
thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts, and Chief Balzer. And Mike, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well-earned, different phase of your life. The corrections officer positions are not easy, as we all know. Very challenging, and I'm sure you've seen some really tough stuff. But again, you handled it professionally, and our jail is in great shape and with great leadership. So we really appreciate it and wish you the best in your retirement. Are you going to take up golf?
I do golf.
All right, all right.
It's been a long time, actually, just something I'm going to get back into, though.
All right, well, good for you.
Thanks.
He doesn't know who won the Ryder Cup. He's behind, so you can't tell him that. So I can't believe he stay away from it, so he doesn't know that. Only thing I have to add, I don't know you personally, but the comments from these two people who I have the highest confidence, trust, and respect for says a lot to me about who you are and what you are and the job you've done in this county for the last 20 years. And thank you very much for your service. And with that, we'd like to get a photo with you if we may, the 6 of us. And we have a little plaque we're going to leave with you as well. Okay.
I invite Jail Director Nick Cariff up to join us.
Of course. Did he want to speak?
Did you want to share any comments?
Sure. He can say, he's worked with Mike for you, buddy.
Well, I wasn't expecting on saying much. Real short story that when I was hired, and Mike did my background in 2006. Was the first time we met. He did my home visit, and he was part of that. And I feel I owe a whole lot to where I am today as the jail administrator for the Sheriff's Office. To Mike, he took a chance on a kid that didn't have much experience. I didn't really know anything. Came from kind of a sheltered suburb and didn't know much about the adult world. And Mike was there, pretty much every step of the way for me, showing me the ropes, training me how to do things right. He was instrumental in me becoming an academy instructor. He kind of held my hand through that, and I really, truly wouldn't, I don't think I'd be here, without him today. And I've told him that a few times, but, I appreciate him, probably more than words can say. And I'm going to miss my friend there at the Sheriff's Office.
And for the record, Peter name and title.
Oh, I'm sorry, Director Nick Cariff.
Okay, Nick, it's good that you spoke, because we talked about a photo and Jay just walked in, so we didn't prepare well for this. So you bought her enough time to get up there from downstairs. So with that, let's get a photo.
All right.
Right here on the center, you're in the.
You better behave.
Okay, great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, proceed.
All right, that brings us to item number 5, and Deanna Brandt, the Executive Director of Delaware Moral Mental Health and Recovery Services, has some presentation and an information update for us.
Good morning.
Good morning. How
Thank
you
you for
doing?
having me.
Welcome.
I'm good. I'm good for a Monday morning. How are you all?
Doing well.
Good, thank you.
As she indicated, I'm Deanna Brandt. I'm the Executive Director of the Delaware Moral Mental Health and Recovery Services Board. Hard to believe I've been here for 4 years and 5 months as of October 1st. And I won't preach to the choir. I will tell you that we, for those in the room who are not familiar with boards, we're the public agency established in ORC 340 since 1968 to ensure the full continuum of behavioral health services and supports are available to all in the community who need it, regardless of ability to pay or a third-party payer source. And I'm going to say that in this pandemic era, those community supports are more important than ever. We have a mission, and we recently updated that mission, and it's actually pretty simple. Our mission is simply to promote wellness and support recovery through the functions we have in the ORC. And I want to take a step back and say, mental health and addiction issues have never discriminated. They're experienced across the lifespan. We did a recent survey of 500 registered voters in both counties, and 75% of the people who responded had a family member or someone they knew directly who was experiencing mental health or addiction issues. What has happened with the pandemic, though, is a complete shift in who is suffering, meaning it's not just people who have serious mental health and addiction issues. Distress is being felt across the continuum in all occupations, all age groups, all service areas. So the availability of community supports and services, even for those populations experiencing short-term stress, is really, really important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do with that. So the impact has been community-wide. Now in 2016, Steve Hedge, who was in my role, stood in front of you and talked about what he would have called the Big 8. 8 agencies that are the primary source of the allocations that we provide with taxpayer support. And I'll talk a little bit about that too. However, we are now the Big 12. We fund through community support, Helpline, Centero, Southeast Healthcare, Maryhaven, RPR, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, which is a new one for us in fiscal year 22. You know, incredibly important as we focus on youth services and prevention services to work with kids who need mentors in the community. Turning Point, Delmore Dwellings, Safe Harbor Peer Support Services. Our second new agency, Prevention and Awareness Support Services, again, a school-based prevention agency that ultimately will be involved in every district in Delaware County as our other school-based providers are. NAMI of Delaware and Morrow counties, and Jacobs Way, our recovery housing provider here. We also have about 60 additional, what I'll call community partnerships, and I won't take up a lot of your time, but I'm going to briefly highlight the ones that are in Delaware County, and some of you are in the room. So, the Alpha Group, the Delaware City Police Department, the Delaware County Housing Alliance, Delaware County Job and Family Services, clearly the Sheriff's Office that we work with pretty closely, the Public Health District, the Suicide Prevention Coalition, the Family and Children First Council, Grady Memorial Hospital. One of our newer partnerships is the Park District. We partnered with them this fiscal year for a mindfulness trail in which people could go to Gallant Woods, did I say it right? And walk a trail that has stations that were co-developed with the Park District to teach people resilience and mindfulness, which I think in this time is incredibly, incredibly important. Now, you know, we're required to offer the full continuum of services. And I won't list all of those because there are really too many probably to mention. I'm going to focus on our work with special populations briefly. Children and families. So of our annual allocation, approximately 25% goes to school-based services or work directly with children and families. The criminal justice population. We've had a recent focus and addition on older adults, including a recent agreement to fund older adults who need guardians through probate court. Students, individuals in crisis, and essential workers. Now I'm going to come back to that in a second, so don't let me forget to come back to that. So our I want to highlight some of our key programs and talk a little bit about them. So Helpline has a crisis hotline. What everyone may not know is they also have a crisis chat and text service, which was a little bit ahead of its time. So in July 1st of 2022, the nation is rolling out 988, the 3-digit emergency psychiatric call number, similar to 911. They are also going to have a crisis chat or text feature. And I will say Helpline in fiscal year 2020 had 19,715 callers and texts to their line. Now, they're a regional provider. That's not all Delaware and Morrow counties. But they also had a total of 38,750 contacts. So their work, I think, will lead the way with how 988 is rolled out here locally. The second thing, essential workers, right? Backing our front line. So in fiscal year 2020, when the pandemic first hit, we had a provider who proposed to us a program that would work with, at no cost, confidentially or anonymously, first responders who needed help. And they started that program with board funding. And we called it Backing Our Front Line. Over the course of time, and I'm going to demonstrate to you the exact value of local levy funding with this program, it became apparent that not just first responders were struggling, school staff, teachers, essential workers, retail workers, funeral home staff, veterinarians, all were having their own kind of individualized response to the pandemic in different ways. And we were able to expand this program to allow them to accept all of those essential workers into their care at no cost to the person. First episode, psychosis. So Barb, you may have, Commissioner Lewis, forgive me, you may have heard of this program already, but with a combination of OMOS funding and board funding, we can treat young people who have their first episode of psychosis immediately, intensely, and in the community, greatly increasing the likelihood of their recovery. Families and children, we have school-based services. We are in every single district in Delaware County with Centero. And I do want to say, all of our agencies are required to be accredited. And Centero is accredited by CARF, the Council on the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. CARF actually gave us some feedback about the quality of this program. They actually recommended to us that we consider it for replication nationwide and send it out to people. So if that says anything about the quality, I think that does. We are also in the Delaware Area Career Center, Columbus State, at the Strengthening Families Initiatives through our providers. And we have 2 clinicians in the juvenile court here. Now, I've said a whole lot, and I'm going to move on to probably the important piece. We have a levy on the ballot, November 2nd. So our levy has been a 1 mil levy since 1984. It has never been above 1 mil. Our last replacement was in 2006. It is the primary, if not, with 2 minor exceptions, the sole source of our local funding here. It is about 80% of our total revenue. Now, I want to be clear, we as board staff leave no stone unturned looking for other revenue. We recently, last fiscal year, got a federal grant to the tune of $1.029 million. So while we rely on local funds, there's a reason for that. With local funding comes local control over the services that are provided, the ability to respond quickly, flexibly, to be nimble and meet the needs of the community. For the first time since we've had a levy on the ballot, we are asking for an increase, a renewal of the 1 mil, so you keep the exemptions and the rollbacks, and a 0.5 mil increase. The cost to the taxpayer for every $100,000 of taxable value is $3.46 a month, $41.52 a year, of which $1.46 a month is the additional levy. Now, it's my job to stand up here and ask all of you and all of you to support us. But the approach I've taken is to try to demonstrate the value of these services in the community and let people make individual personal decisions about whether or not they also see that value. I can say that most of our investments are unduplicated, that without these local dollars, with the support of the community, these services would not exist at the level they do. I think we're very, very fortunate here to be resource rich, and we desperately appreciate that. So what I had hoped to share was the investments that this levy makes possible, and ask for the continued support of the commissioners and the community. But again, only you determine the value. Are there questions for me?
So could you repeat again what the millage is again?
It is
and
a
the-
1 mil renewal and a 0.5 mil increase.
Okay, 0.5.
Are they two separate levies, or is it one?
It's one issue,
One.
which that was new for me, but it's one issue on the ballot.
Okay. And how long of a levy? How many
It's
years?
5 years. We come in under 5705.19A. 5 years is the maximum. So it will come up again clearly in 2026.
Could you maybe share with us how that money will be used? 2 minutes or less, or?
I can, and I will tell you, there are 3 things that contribute to our request for an increase. One is the projected growth in population since 2016, but also the projected growth before 2040. So the second thing is the reduction in stigma. We have more people seeking services across the board. And again, we used to be more focused on the severely mentally ill or addicted population, and now it's a much more widespread request for services. And the third is COVID, so that has impacted service demand as well. So what this money will be used for is to continue to fund these 12 providers at a level that will enable them to maintain the existing services. We've had about 30 new programs that have been developed since 2016. Those will be maintained as well. There'll be a basic, we've allowed for a cost of living increase each year of 3% for each of the providers. And then there'll be some room for expansion of existing capacity in the programs that we have now. That 1 mil renewal with a 0.5 increase will not result in new programs unless something changes in what we currently allocate. So we're just trying to maintain, having filled the service gaps in the last 5 years to the extent that resources allow, the existing programs with some expanded capacity. Now, I will say this, everything we do is dictated by 2 things, funding and workforce. We have an enormous workforce crisis in this country in behavioral health, long preceded the pandemic. It's been, kind of building up over the course of the last 15 years. So some of what we do is also dependent on that. Our providers being able to find qualified, willing workforce. I'm not sure I answered your question. Were you looking for something else?
This levy also appears on Morrow County's ballot. I assume,
It does.
Since it's, just make sure everybody understood that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No.
Thank you very much for the update.
Thoroughly
you.
support it, though. You do a great job.
Thank you
And-
for having
And
me.
the expansion of your programs over time, over these last 5 years, has been great. And meeting the current needs that people have. I mean, pandemic is the best example of that. But you're very flexible and creative, which is great. You see where the problems are and help.
Meet the local need. That's the agenda, right? That's what you have to do. We don't work for the state. We don't work for the feds. We have to meet the local need first. And so we've really tried to organize our footprint around that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, with that,
Item number 6 is Patrick Brand, our Director of Emergency Communications, and he has an update on our new computer-aided dispatch system.
Good morning, Commissioners. Patrick Brandt, 911 Director. Deanna's point, one of her points, just to let you guys know, of the 988 that comes into services she's talking about. I was actually chosen by the state to speak on some of those behalfs on several of the phone calls of 988 and integration into 911. So it is a very ongoing talking point at the state level and local of trying to get integration between when we have somebody needing assistance and people that are calling in directly into them, so.
Now, would 988 calls come to you
No.
then, Patrick? No.
988 calls will go directly to the helpline centers.
Okay.
They're just looking at how to make sure we can get the ones that need immediate assistance that we need to dispatch on versus
Will
their
they be
office.
staffed appropriately for that, or is that something that'll have to be addressed at some point?
The 988 side would, luckily, our side won't change. It'd be all completely on the helpline side.
So the question is helpline,
That
Deanna,
would
raise
be-
her hand. She's gonna answer that for us.
So I can answer that actually, and I think one of the things that's difficult for Helpline to do is project what the actual numbers will be. There'll be a buildup over time, as just like 911, as people start to recognize they call this number. Helpline was chosen because they're a national Lifeline certified helpline. In Ohio, they're gonna set up a process where there might be some regional approach to this. So we expect by then, Helpline going into fiscal year '23 for us to ask for some expanded capacity for 988 calls, but it's really difficult to know in the first year what that's gonna be.
Well, I assume this will be a 24/7.
Yep, as,
So,
yes.
It'll be an interesting.
Thank you.
Oh, you're fine. It'll be an interesting piece, though. 980 is well needed. So with our CAD system, so our computer-aided dispatch system and the records management system that we purchased through Tyler Technologies, obviously, between all the law enforcement agencies, the fire departments, EMS, 911, and ourselves, we're all starting to look back in 2018. So we went back a little bit, 2018, 2019. Obviously, the commissioners signed the contract late 2019 for just over 1.2 million. Out of this project, luckily, I see it as a success. It went in perfectly online. We got no issues, no bumps. We've only officially done one change order. You have another change order pending, which if I do, you do $1.25 million project with only 2 change orders, I say that's pretty good. I consider that as a win on my side, by the way. One was for pre-hospital care board, the other one's for law enforcement. So anyway, so everything is up and running. One of the benefits of this system, there's actually a lot of benefits. One is, instead of our old system only being a Windows-based application, Tyler brings us a technology that can do Apple and Android and fully integrated with their solution. So obviously it's saving cost on our Department of EMS and some of the fire departments that are using the Windows or the Android or Apple tablets versus buying a rugged Toughbook Windows laptop, which costs several thousand. So there's a lot of integration right there that we have right off the bat that's cost savings. This project didn't included everybody from, like I said, the fire, EMS, law enforcement. The pre-hospital care board was involved, as talking about the EMS nature codes and how we were going to dispatch EMS. We also had the Stay Higher Patrol Law Enforcement Leads Division, who does the integration for the license plates and everything and all the driver's license that they read. The old system contained 4 servers, just 4 is all we had in the county. We're now at 21 servers. So we went to a massive project and a massive thing that our friends over in the IT department with Director Lewis's office had to stand up. It wasn't just maintaining 4 little servers. We now have servers here and servers down our DR location for redundancy and keeping our disaster recovery ready. So we were able to see now the responders traveling all over the map. So as the deputy marks online and gets out traveling in the county, we can see now them live traveling around. We can actually see the fire and EMS people traveling around through the county. We can see the fire department as well. Anybody who logs into the system and actually has a user online, we can see them as they're going about in the county. That does us a couple things. One is it's bringing in our GIS piece into the system where we can see where they're at, see if they're close to calls for one. 2 is that when we create a call for service and we bring the 911 caller into us, and if it's a medical run, a fire run or anything, it's going to tell us the estimated time for them to get there. It's all going based off of speed based off the roadway speed limit, what the county engineer has set versus the distance of the segment of the road space. So that brought in our friends at GIS. So Auditor Kites' office had a lot of work considering Director Parsons is over there. And Director Parsons' office, through his staff, had to actually take every segment of roadway, calculate the distance of the segment of roadway, plus the certified speed on the roadway to get us the time travel calculations. And they didn't do that just for our county, they had to do it for all the counties around us. Because obviously if you're looking down the south where Medic 7 is, and we use Westerville a lot to come up, if Medic 7's tied up, if Genoa's tied up, is the Westerville medic closer or who's the closest medic? So we had to look at travel times from these other agencies. So their office ended up getting all the GIS data from the surrounding counties, integrating it, and then having to do all the calculations and stuff and bringing it in. So that was a big piece of it. We also were able now to put in road closures on our mapping system. So as we get notices from the townships to the engineer or the state saying that this road's closed here or not, when the officers, it'll take that accountability into place of distance and travel for the closest unit to get there. It'll also give the unit responding how to route around that closure. So if there is a closure, we can route around it. It also gives us the ability for like these events Delaware City has. We have First Friday coming up. The parades and such they have. We can actually close the roads off in segments. So as we have, if we have a good time frame that says out front on Friday, we know it's going to close at 4 o'clock. We can close that at 4 o'clock, automatically have it reopen at 9 o'clock. So it takes it off of us having to manually do stuff. We can automate it and get everything built in. Some of that's still being built because it takes end user data or end user entry from our staff, but a lot of it is getting in there, so it makes it very nice. Let's see. Between the roads being built and all the response plan, a response plan in the system is the one that tells us how many officers, how many medics, how many fire trucks need to go to a call. That was all manual data entry. We had over 15,000 lines of entry that had to be done on just the response plan. That doesn't include all the address, all the key holder information, and all the previous alerts on the addresses we wanted. So if there's somebody in a residence that we want to make sure we had important information about, we have some over at Ohio Wesleyan, that this building has this type of stuff in it, we had to manually all enter every data. Our contract did not include any data conversion or transfer of data out of the old system. We did that intentionally. Yes, it was more work on our side to get the data entered, but we know that it's not a garbage in, garbage out type situation. Because that data was so old and some of it had alerts that were very old that people had moved out or whatever. We wanted to make sure that everything was verified and manually entered correctly. So there's a lot of that had to be done. All the businesses and everything countywide we had to put in there. So we can quickly type in Starbucks, it'll give us a list of all the Starbucks in the county. You type in the school, it'll give us a whole list of schools. We can pick the addresses quickly to get stuff dispatched. So there's a lot of manual entry work that had to be done. But it makes it nicer on the dispatchers at this point in time moving forward. We had to train everybody. We had everybody on the system, well, there's a lot of them that weren't there, but we started the old system in 2006. So we had it for almost 15 years. So we had to train everybody countywide on this. It doesn't matter if they're a deputy, an officer, medics, or whatever. All of them got in the dispatchers. Depending on the dispatchers, all went through a minimum of 3 days in a row of 4 hours. So it was 12 hours of training on it, and then continuously training that we did in-house on them before they went live. And same with every deputy and every medic. We had a lot of fire chiefs actually in for training as well. So it was quite interesting. So we got that up and running, had to go through all the training. We have our automated dispatching system fully functional and up and running now. So our automated dispatch system, there's a lot of cities going to it and a lot of stuff doing it. It's the robotic one that goes out. I mean, it's a human voice per se, but it's still somewhat, but it gives the end point of that one is it's twofold. One is it helps the medics and the fire guys in the station at night. My voice coming across at 3 a.m. to wake you up versus another person that works for me, their voice coming across at 3 a.m. I could be a little bit more boisterous and other people could be a little quieter. This gives them a constant way to wake up in the middle of the night, doesn't kick their heart rate and throw them up through the ceiling when I yell through there versus somebody else. And it's all continuous. Every day, every message is exact. That is one thing that the fire and EMS side liked. Everything's programmable. Everybody said exactly the same each time. There's no variation from me dispatching it to yourself dispatching or whatever. On the other side of it, on the dispatch side, it helps us out as now my call taker that is taking the 911 call doesn't have to worry about dispatching if we get busy. They can literally click the buttons and CAD it and it'll take care of itself. So it offsets a little bit of time on that side that the 911 call taker is dealing with you, giving you emergency medical instructions, giving you information while the system's automatically dispatching them. Onto that, we had one department, and it's Genoa Township Fire, actually took the automated system to the next level and actually put lighting in their stations, which some of the stations have different lighting systems. But with the system, as we get busier and busier answering 911 calls and dispatching calls, we've had times where you have 2 or 3 calls stacked up to dispatch. The system, as we did in the manual day, it's one by one, whatever priority's first, we get out the call, the dispatcher will dispatch it. The automated system, as they click the button, it goes in the queue. What Genoa did, considering they're on our fiber optic network and have the extra integration out in their station, they can get the dispatch out their station now without even us having to do it before it's even out over the radio system. So when you guys hear it over their airways, they could already been alerted inside their firehouse and responding to the call. So if it's 2 calls deep in the queue to be sent out, they're already responding on it. So there's more and more departments looking at integrating into that. That also helped them out on an ISO rating for your insurance, because it gives them a secondary means of saying that we have a way to communicate to get their runs out to them. So that was one of the big things we did get to see in Genoa. Pulse Point. Pulse Point's your piece that that the pre-hospital care board and we all worked on. Where obviously if you have the app downloaded to your phone, the Pulse Point piece will, if we have an unconscious, unresponsive, and if you have it set up to alert you and you're CPR trained, it'll alert you to the fact that there's somebody needing emergency medical help in this location or this vicinity. It'll tell you by the radius of how far you're in. I don't have the exact radius on it, so I don't want to mention that. But anyway, that is one of the other pieces we got in was our Pulse Point. It's still too new. I have not talked to the vendor. I have a conference call with the vendor next week, but we're trying to see how many people have actually downloaded the system so far and actually how many people are monitoring our county. Because obviously, City of Columbus, the whole northwest side of Franklin County and all of them have it, and you can pick by agency. We have it just by our dispatch center in there. It's the Delaware County 911. So you can see all of our fire departments, but that is in there. Hopefully have an update for you on that from our vendor here in another week or so. It's only been out 3 weeks, so we'll give them a little bit. So like I said, that's our main pieces. Obviously, I need to thank our staff, because our staff did a lot of work on it. We had myself, Matt Fletcher, Jason Hutchinson, and PJ Roberts were our critical piece that did the lineup and everything and all the manual data entry. Matt did over 15,000 plus run card entries, which was very tedious. And we've continued to find onesie-twosies that need adjusted and stuff, because obviously this system works completely different than how our old system works. So it's a whole new technology of how we're doing it. And then obviously we got to thank Auditor Kites' staff with Director Lewis and Director Parsons and their staff. Because if it wasn't for them, the GIS is very critical in this system. Our old system, we just took the county standard tax data information that they put in, out address stuff. This has a lot more that layers they had to build and stuff that they had to do customized just for our office. So we want to thank their office for that. And with that, if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, for the average resident, someone calls in, they need a policeman, they need our sheriff, they need, or emergency care, EMS. How does it work then? The call goes in, and then how does it compare to what we were doing to now what you're able to do?
So a couple things on that. So obviously anybody who dialed 911 gets the 911 center. And if it's a law enforcement call that's related to the county sheriff's office or to the Genoa Township or them, we transfer it over to the sheriff's dispatcher. If it's in the city of Delaware and the city of Powell, we maintain the 911 caller and we dispatch accordingly. On the law enforcement stuff, not much has changed at all. It's mainly the run card based, who's closest in that area. They have not worked on that. On the fire and EMS based stuff is where we're looking at, and this is where we work with the pre-hospital care board to be able to see what runs we want to pull medics off of coming back into other areas. Okay. That piece is up and it's set up. However, like I said, mapping is very critical and integral to the system. We have to, in getting all those calculations of distance and travel stuff. So that will probably be finished where we're seeing, because we're seeing, you got to look at it, we have some medics, all the county medics are standard. They all use the Apple iPads. They all use the same GPS system in their vehicles. In some of the other ones, we have Android tablets that have different GPS settings. We have Windows tablets. So we're still finalizing getting those in. But once that is done, hopefully in another week or two, and because we have enough test data coming in, I didn't want to set up our staff up for failure and then say, hey, is this GPS data correct? We haven't seen it. We hadn't seen how it came in yet until we got everybody live. But once it is live, hopefully in a week or two, then we're going to be able to send them by the closest one. We can see what gives us, though, is when we dispatch you right now, we can see how long it's estimated for the medic to get to the location. But this will actually change a little bit here in a couple weeks, and we'll actually do it based off their closest location.
Oh, gosh, that's great. Thank you so much. I mean, this is, boy, it saves lives,
Oh, yes.
saves lives.
I got to give a shout out to Director Miller, by the way. Director Miller is the one who, when we went live, he let us take over as EOC and all the training
Oh.
classes we had throughout the several months. Director Miller let us invade his EOC and take over for training down there, so
Oh,
we need to
good.
do a thank you to him.
Oh, good.
You said closest location, but it's actually be the closest vehicle, would it?
Yeah, it'd be the closest vehicle based on their GPS coordinates.
Just clarify that
Yes.
point. Any other questions or comments? Very thorough report, and we're very fortunate, privileged to serve on the 911 board. We're very privileged to have as good a group of people in 911 as I would say any county in the state, and you guys do a great job.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add?
No, just a lot accomplished there, Patrick.
Yeah.
It was about a year and 9 months to go live. We did have a small setback due to COVID because of training, because they had other agencies that were stacked to go live before us. And obviously with COVID, we did several little, first part of our training was all online, remote. It works, you just don't get the best of what you want. And then there towards the end, when we did all the officers and everything, we actually had the trainers on staff hand in hand with us, so it made it nice.
Oh, that's great.
Great improvements.
I believe
Yes.
we have a resolution, is that correct?
We do have a resolution for Director Brandt. Resolution number 21-872, in the matter of approving an amendment to the license agreement by and between Delaware County and Tyler Technologies for emergency communication software.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. I'm not going to ask for discussion.
That'll work for me.
That's a lot of relieved looks in the audience here.
That'll work for me.
If no other comments, call for the vote.
Vote on motion 21-872. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a great
Thank
day.
you, Patrick.
Resolution number 21-873, in the matter of authorizing the use of a procurement card for the sheriff's office.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Thank you, Dean Stelzer, Delaware County Sheriff's Office. I have to say, I had the privilege this morning early of getting some of that Tyler training, and it's pretty thorough. Also like to add that I think it's great what they're able to do, and I agree wholeheartedly. Our capabilities from a 911 standpoint, and it's really important. I know from years of working with the city, even working with the county, trying to look at how best to provide services out there and doing it with limited funds sometimes. You all know EMS, public safety can be very expensive, opening stations and all that sort of stuff. And years ago, it was a big push, I think, at least administratively at the city level, to look more regional. And that's really the key with utilizing some of these resources, as opposed to every department and everybody
Yes,
building up
right.
their own capabilities for emergency services. And to me, it was always that dispatch capability,
That's
that
great.
strategic dispatch. And so anything you can do to support that and keep that moving down the road, I think will really pay dividends to the citizens of Delaware County.
Well, and the willingness of everybody in the county to work together so we could ultimately combine 911,
Exactly.
which precedes these commissioners.
Sure.
But there was work that was done that really set us up to have what I think is one of the better systems in the state.
Well, and I know firsthand, took a lot of selling to get our police department years ago to agree to centralize, and our fire department centralizing that dispatch. I kept telling them, we'll be better off in the long run. It'll really, really pay off. And they were apprehensive, but it's really worked well, I think, and got a really, really good system, so it's
Thank you
great.
for your comments.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
The first resolution is just we have a replacement employee in the department that utilizes the procurement card, so it's just designating an additional person.
Okay.
Vote on motion 21-873. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-874, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds, a supplemental appropriation, and a transfer of appropriations for the sheriff's office.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
This resolution deals with two issues. One is our LEAP grant for this year, and the first part, the transfer, allocates the county match to the grant. and then readjusting the appropriation to align with the actual grant that was approved. The supplemental appropriation is for some improvements out there at the firing range. They want to improve the building, the storage building, the building they utilize with when they're out there to insulate it, to deal with some of the drainage, and also to make it usable year-round. They're putting some heating systems in there to make it more functional.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-874. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number
Thank
21-875,
you.
in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for adult court services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Hello, Mark Taglione, Chief Probation Officer for Adult Court Services. Good morning, Commissioners
Good morning, Mark.
Benton, Merrill, and Lewis. I'm here to respectfully request supplemental appropriations with one of our grants, the probation subsidy grant. We're requesting $200 for compensation, $3,100 for health insurance, $10 for workers' comp, and $25 for OPERS, OPERS. This was due to the fact of some personnel changes we had within our office and attaching the grant to a specific officer. When that officer left, a new officer was put into that position, which we didn't, I guess, appropriate enough money into the benefits part for someone who wasn't taking insurance to someone who was. We've rectified that situation effective September 18th moving forward, our current pay period we're in right now.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-875. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Resolution
you.
number 21-876, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for the Record Center.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Good morning, Chris Shaw, Records Coordinator for Delaware County. What we're asking for is just for supplementals to get us through to the end of the year for storage boxes and for chemicals for the processing.
Questions or comments? I believe Commissioner Benton serves on that board, like,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
Questions or comments?
No.
Call for the vote.
Vote on motion 21-876. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 21-877, in the matter of accepting a grant from the Columbus Foundation and approving a supplemental appropriation for the Delaware County Dog Shelter.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Good morning, everybody. Mitchell Garrett, the head dog warden for Delaware County. So these next two appropriations here are accepting grants, different organizations that are in the communities in the state of Ohio are helping out with medical care for the dogs in the different shelters in the different areas. And so we've had these before in the past. These organizations reached out to us and said, hey, would you like a little bit of help with some of the medical care? And with COVID, more dogs are being moved throughout the areas, and it does help out with us being able to make sure that all the dogs that leave the shelters are healthy before they're going back out in the community into new homes.
Sure.
Okay. Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-877. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-878, in the matter of accepting a grant from the Ohio Pet Fund and approving supplemental appropriations for the Delaware County Dog Shelter.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Same thing, just a different places helping out. So we're pretty fortunate that there's different areas that are helping us to help all the dogs in the areas.
Oh, that's great.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-878. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye. I hear
Resolution-
great things about the job you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you guys so much for helping us out, and we'll keep helping all the dogs.
Yeah. No, thank you,
Thanks.
Mitch.
Thank you. All the dog lovers appreciate that.
They do.
Resolution number 21-879, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation for the Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jared Zarilla with Delaware County Board of Developmental Disabilities. We are asking for the approval of supplemental appropriations. This is for a home to be purchased in Powell, Ohio, and the funds actually come from the state. So they come through DODD, and it's a pass-through for our agency to our housing corporation, which is Summit Housing, and they take care of all of our houses for us.
Any questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 21-879, Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jared.
Resolution number 21-880, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for FEMA Task Force 1.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda O'Rourke, Delaware County EMS. We received reimbursement for one of our employees who was deployed for Task Force 1 in the Surfside disaster, so we're just asking for a supplemental for that. We have received the reimbursement for this, so that we can repost the payroll.
Any questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 21-880, Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 21-881, in the matter of authorizing the county administrator to represent the board at and approve and execute all documents associated with the closing of the Watkins Farm, Newhouse Farm, and Lotham Farms agricultural easements 2019 and 2020 Ohio Department of Agricultural Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Programs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Rebecca Longsmith, Resource Conservationist with Delaware Soil and Water. This first resolution is to allow us to have Don Houston act as signer for any of the closing documents associated with these agricultural easements. This is because we're moving on to new easements in the closing process and because of Mike Frommer's departure.
Any questions or comments?
Gee, this is great. Glad it's moving.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
I'm excited.
Lot of work, a lot of
Yes.
work.
When do you expect them to close?
Estimates for when funds will be available from ODA for the 2019 ones would be early 2022, and for the 2021 would be late 2022.
Vote?
Vote on motion 21-881, Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Resolution number 21-882, in the matter of approving the First Amendment to the agreement for the 2020 Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program Cooperative Agreement between the Ohio Department of Agriculture and the Delaware County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
So this is just an update to the agreement for 2020, given the new fiscal year for the state.
Okay.
Questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 21-882. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Resolution number 21-883, in the matter of approving the Second Amendment to the agreement for 2019 Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program Cooperative Agreement between the Ohio Department of Agriculture and Delaware County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
And again, this is another update due to the fiscal year changing.
So no changes other than extending the date?
No.
Okay.
Call for the vote?
Vote on motion 21-883. Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution
Thank you,
number,
Rebecca.
Resolution number 21-884, in the matter of approving transfer of appropriations for the coroner's office.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
Good morning. I'm Charlie Carlson. I'm over at the Delaware County Coroner's Office and Administrator. So what we'd like to do is transfer funds from the 5001 to the 5201 supplies for PPE and other cadaver pouches, body bags, that kind of thing.
Questions or comments? Vote?
Vote on motion 21-884. Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Resolution number 21-885, in the matter of approving an assignment and assumption agreement with the Unam Corporation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Rob Platt, Economic Development. You'll recall that we've had some recent assignment assumption agreements for the Creekside Business Park that brought us up to date. So those are up to date through our analysis of what was outstanding. This is for a recent purchase, I believe, at the end of August. Unam Corporation purchased just over 14 acres at the very end of Corduroy Drive there at Green Meadows. They are developing just over a 20,000 square foot building on the southern half of that parcel, the southern 7 acres. The northern part's got the retention pond on it for that development. So this is a agreement to move the assignment of the CRA agreement for their tax abatement over their corporation. Now they've taken possession of the property. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you know the status of the lots in that development? How many are still available?
I believe there are 2, but I want to check because I know ATS split their parcel, and I don't know if they're developing that or wanting to sell that off. I think we're at 2 outstanding still,
Okay.
so there's
So
been a
most-
significant amount.
Most have been sold and
That is
closed
correct.
and sold.
Yep.
Well, that's good to see.
Yep.
It's good, yeah, it's good economic development activity for our county. Good to see that project almost wrapped up.
Call for vote.
Vote on motion 21-885. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Rob.
Resolution number 21-886, in the matter of approving the program year 2020 Target of Opportunity Program CARES Act Community Development Block Grant Subrecipient Agreement with United Way of Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Daly, Economic Development. We have moved forward with our partnership with United Way of Delaware County. This will fill 3 positions to assist with the Emergency Rental Assistance Program for about $6.2 million that was approved by the federal government last year at this point. We'll also be working with Legal Aid of Columbus to hire legal counsel to assist those who are facing landlord-tenant disputes to make sure that everything is moving smoothly with the eviction moratorium being up. So I think that about summarizes it. Happy to answer any questions.
How long does this last?
So much like our CDBG allocation grants, this will be a 2-year grant. So these this grant will fund 3 positions for 2 years, after which we've made sure that United Way is aware that they'll have to find funding for those positions on their own. This is just to get them through this kind of emergency COVID period.
Are those seen as permanent positions or positions associated with this timeframe?
My understanding is that the legal position that will be partnering with Legal Aid for Columbus, they will keep their position afterwards, but the other 2 positions, I believe United Way of Delaware County will be looking to determine if they're necessary after the period is ended.
Very well. Any other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-886. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Resolution number 21-887, in the matter of approving the second amendment to the contract between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services, and Forensic Fluid Laboratories for the purchase of drug screening laboratory services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Anderson with Job and Family Services. This is just extending for an additional year our contract with Forensic Fluids. They do our drug screens for our Protective Services Division.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-887. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-888, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for job and family services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
And we're asking for supplemental appropriations. The first one is to reimburse mileage for our Protective Services Division. We've just expended additional dollars than we anticipated. And the last 2 are for Family and Children First. As we see more cases flowing through our MSY and through Family and Children First, we're expending more money there rather than our Protective Services Division.
Is the 120,000, is that general fund dollars that would be used for that, or is that a grant through Family and Children's First?
It's funds that come through from Ohio Department of Medicaid. And it's just a way so parents do not have to relinquish custody, and the children and families can receive services through Family and Children First rather than coming through Protective Services, being placed in our care, and then we pay for the expenses.
Okay.
Questions or comments additionally? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-888. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-889, in the matter of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners accepting and approving the Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Program for the Department of Job and Family Services Public Assistance Program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
And we are required every 2 years to review and update our PRC plan, Prevention, Retention, Contingency Plan. We reviewed that. We presented it to the Family Services Planning Committee, who also reviewed it. They had some additional changes that they recommended, and then they unanimously approved that we present this to the board.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-889, and that is on page 507. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-890, in the matter of approving procurement policy for the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
And this is a plan required that we update through ODGFS, just to make sure we're following all the rules, federal and state requirements through procurement. We submit the plan to the state, we coordinate with them just to make sure everything's kind of updated and we're following the rules.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-890. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Thank you.
Aye. Thank you, Bob.
That brings us to page 527. Resolution number 21-891, in the matter of approving a professional services agreement with Schilling Architects for the professional design services for the project known as the Delaware County Judicial Building Miscellaneous Office Suite Build-Out.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. This agreement will allow Schilling Architects to proceed with detailed design, construction documents, and also the construction administration. For that little project we have in the new courthouse to, one, make accommodations for the 5th District Judge, and to build out some unfinished space on the 400 level for domestic relations court.
What's the timeline on?
I don't have a definitive timeline yet. We get this improvement in place. I imagine Schilling will have a couple months of design work, developing the documents and stuff, and then we'll bid it out. So it'll be into next year before this project is complete.
Other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-891. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Resolution number 21-892, in the matter of reappointing members to the Millstone Community Authority Board of Trustees.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jane Hawes, Director of Communications. We have before you first a resolution for the Millstone Community Authority reappointing myself and Cy Keeley to the board, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for serving.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-892. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-893, in the matter of Delaware County Board of Commissioners appointing a representative to the Ohio Children's Trust Fund, Central Ohio Child Abuse and Child Neglect Regional Prevention Council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
And this one, this would be a new representative for us. Katie Stenman from Probate Juvenile Court has volunteered to serve on this board. Their mission over time, we've previously appointed people from JFS, but over time it has shifted to more of a court-focused emphasis with what this council does. So in consultation with Bob Anderson, we decided it would be better to have somebody from Probate Juvenile there, and Katie stepped up, so.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-893. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution number 21-894, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Good morning, Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. We have two routine utility installation permits for you today, recommending approval.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-894. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-895, in the matter of approving a ditch maintenance petition and the ditch maintenance assessments for Olentangy Local School District New Middle School number 6.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
You may be aware Olentangy Local School District is building its 6th middle school located in Berlin Township off Pyatt Road, just south of the new Berlin.
We were at the groundbreaking.
That's right.
Very good. And so that project is moving along. This action will place the stormwater management facilities onto the county's drainage maintenance program.
Okay. Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-895. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-896, in the matter of establishing a maintenance bond and returning construction securities for North Lake Preserve Section 3, North Lake Preserve Section 4, Liberty Grand District Section 3, and Liberty Grand District Section 4.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
North Lake Preserve is located in Berkshire Township off Four Winds Drive, and Liberty Grand is located in Liberty Township, located west of Sawmill Parkway, north of Home Road. These two projects include about 152 lots together, single-family lots. The street and stormwater improvements were completed recently on both of these projects, and so this will place the new streets on the one-year developer maintenance period.
Questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-896. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye, sorry.
Resolution number 21-897, in the matter of approving owner's agreements for Courtyards at Clear Creek Section 3, Hyatt's Meadow Section 1, and Hyatt's Meadow Section 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Courtyards at Clear Creek, this is a single-family subdivision in Orange Township, west of US 23, just south of Home Road. This section includes 41 single-family lots, and then Hyatt's Meadows is a brand-new subdivision located off of Hyatt's Road, just west of Route 23. It's on the north side of Hyatt's Road, kind of connecting into Greif Park. That subdivision will include 116 single-family lots, as well as 78 multifamily rental units. So this is a good indicator of how busy we are with development. There's lots and lots going on everywhere. And matter of fact, last I checked, last year I believe there were almost 1,500 building permits issued in the unincorporated area, residential building permits. Last I looked through August, we're on pace to exceed that this year. So
How many?
we're on pace to exceed it, probably in the 1,700.
1,700,
By the
okay.
end, we're already almost at 1,200 right now, or just over 1,200. So, yeah, pretty busy.
So Hyatt's Meadows does connect into Greif Park then?
It does.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? The only thing I have in the matter is misspelled, M-A-T-T-E-R, just for the record.
I will fix that.
Okay.
Thank you. Vote on motion 21-897. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 21-898, in the matter of declaring the board's opinion regarding the location and establishment of a new public road to be known as Reed Parkway, Township Road 1782, located off Lackey Old State Road and approximately 1/2 mile south of US Route 36, extending west from Lackey Old State Road for 1,101 feet in Berlin Township, Delaware County, Ohio, and setting date, time, and place for the view and final hearing thereon.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
So I know you're aware, there's been some good activity on the Berlin Business Park project. We've been working closely with the Regional Sewer District as well as Economic Development to advance some of the infrastructure for the business park. This action basically is the necessary legal process to establish a new section of road. This will be kind of the first local road section in that business park coming off of Old State Road, about 1,100 feet long. Will serve the new pump station and provide access to some of the Reed Chapman property for future development. I would expect probably within the next week or two, we'll be bringing you plans and specs to go out to bid on that section of road. And then we're planning on seeing that road built and completed by July of next year.
So this will be a county road then?
This will be a township road. We have talked with Berlin Township, so yes, this will be a local road.
Is it a dead end, or will it eventually continue further west?
It will continue further west. This is just the first segment. We're not exactly sure of the alignment. There's several different opportunities on the way this road could extend farther west. This alignment in particular is kind of locked in because the available property is relatively narrow, so there's really only one place the road could go.
Other questions or comments? Vote.
Vote on motion 21-898. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, Rob, I just have one question. Well, no, I
Sure.
have two questions. Yeah. Pyatt Road detour, which I came across this morning. What are they doing now?
Yes, so that is a project between Peach Blow Road and Cheshire Road, widening that. That's a Berlin Township project we're working on, managing for the township. They should have the eastern half of the road hopefully paved out this week, and then we will be maintaining one-way southbound traffic, I believe. I'll have to double check on that, but starting
okay.
next week.
Okay.
But my understanding was this week we'd have kind of the bulk of the work done, and then we'll be able to finish up the west half of the road while maintaining some of the traffic through the site.
Oh,
But that should
okay.
all be wrapped up. That project will be done hopefully by the end of October.
Oh, okay. And then I noticed Walnut Street in Galena was closed or is closed.
It was, I actually drove through there over the weekend. They had, you may have seen, they installed a gas line under the pavement. They just resurfaced that section of road, and I think they had the road closed while they did that.
Yeah, I think it's closed for the week.
It was open on Sunday when I drove through, so
Yeah,
I
it's-
don't, maybe they have more work to do.
Well, the
I-
27th it starts.
Okay.
It said, the sign did. Yeah, I just wondered, since I always go through there.
Yeah, so that is the village of Galena doing that.
Oh, it's about it. Okay,
Not really familiar
okay.
with that. So.
Okay.
Other
Well,
que- I'm sorry.
well, there are plenty of other detours that I can take, so it's always
Yes.
exciting. Thank you.
How's the home road west of 23 coming along?
It's coming along well. We should see some paving done this week on the north side. We have the south side basically done. Unfortunately, we have some utility conflicts. No new news there, but some poles still in the way. We will be able to get the road back open to two-way traffic, though, I would expect within the next week or two at the most. So.
Okay.
And then we'll probably be back in the spring to finish up the final asphalt surface and touch up the seating on the site.
Yeah, I noticed there are a number of utility poles on the south side that have big clumps of dirt around them and been dug out
They
around.
do, yes,
noticed
and on the north side as well, unfortunately. Some of those are actually in the curb line, and so we'll have to kind of pave around them, and then we'll come back, and when we put the final surface on, we'll clean that up.
Is this your busiest time of the year, trying to get projects done before the fall?
Yeah, this is pretty busy right now. Our construction guys are
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
working long weeks, so we'll see probably another month of this while the weather holds, hopefully.
Sure.
Then things start to slow down just a little bit in November.
Sure. Well, great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to administrator reports.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to Marissa Stith and Jane Hawes for a very successful open house yesterday. I think it was very well organized by both Jane and Marissa, and saw a lot of people come through that maybe were former employees, family members, and then just the interested general public. But I thought it was very well attended and very well organized. John Melvin and Randy Ormeroyd and the facilities team also played a part in that, and Randy actually came in over the weekend on Saturday to complete some repairs to make sure that the building was in tip-top shape, and then also provided some added security for the building with so many of the public coming through. So it was very well run, and definitely I think was something that everyone enjoyed seeing, and lots of great compliments for the renovations.
Yes.
Very, very thankful, I think a lot of people were, for being able to preserve the majestic nature of the building.
Yes.
So,
Wow.
Steady stream of people.
Yes. Yes.
Through the whole
Sure
time.
was.
Started early and left late, so
Right.
really encouraging. I heard nothing but positive comments as well. Very, very appreciative of the effort and the way it turned out.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there were people who came through from Minnesota and Florida, and many other counties, but a lot in the county too, and everyone seemed very pleased and very impressed and very glad that we had done what we had done to maintain this building in its
Yes,
current form.
absolutely. A lot of neat questions too, I think. You know, somebody asked about whether there was a time capsule found and, you know, that. And then obviously the mural was a point of conversation, and the stained glass as well as the painted glass. I think a lot of people would like to know more about some of the pictures that are around in the building that we really don't know a whole lot about, why they painted things the way that they did. So,
Yes.
And we had great weather on top of that.
yes, we
Oh,
did. It was a
yes.
beautiful day. The other thing I was going to mention too, Karen First has been working very, very hard on all the pre-budget items for 2022. And I know Sarah DeNovo has been assisting with that as well. OpenGov will be opened for budget input the first 2 weeks of October. So I know departments are gearing up for 2020 budget season already, and we'll have budget hearings scheduled here in the near future. But that's all I have for today.
Commissioner Benton, why don't you give us an update on the Ryder Cup, as far as you're aware of it?
Well, as of late afternoon on Saturday, the U.S. was still leading, but I haven't caught up yet, so please don't tell me how it turned out. It just takes so long, and the Browns were on, the Indians were on,
No, I take
college
it too,
football.
but I go through it and skip some. Are you literally watching every bit of it?
You have to.
You have to.
You have to appreciate the tension and the what's
So,
going
well, I'm
on.
impressed.
Yeah.
Maybe by next Monday week, you can give us a report.
Let's see, we had the Little Brown Jug, Delaware's Day in the Sun, except it was pretty cloudy and cool. Yeah, we all had jackets on. Nobody could remember the last time we had worn jackets at the Jug. Usually it's hot, but it was great to see the fans were the stands were nearly full, so it was great to see big crowds again. Fairgrounds were again very busy, so it was just a really nice day. And a nose wire photo finish. Luz Pearlman won by a nose, literally. So it was just a great event. Commissioner Merrill and I went to a number of the auctions, the 4-H auctions on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And that was Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, that's right, Tuesday and Wednesday. And that was a lot of fun. The kids are really into it. The auctioning is fun. The auctioneers make it fun. There's good crowds. It was just a really nice event to see the kids. They put so much effort into raising the animals and creating these crafts and baked goods and everything, and it just was really neat. The Vets Dinner went extremely well Friday evening. There were probably 500 people there, I would guess. Very well attended in the pavilion. Hopefully next year, I think they're going to try to shift it to the new Ag Center building. But it was very well done and great to recognize our vets as they deserve recognition. Again, just always a fun evening. Did a tour of the two of the new and/or renovated dorms at Ohio Wesleyan last Friday as well. The Bradford Milligan Hall is the new one on Liberty Street across from the fire department. Beautiful. These are senior apartments. Beautiful new dorm, and just a real important addition to the housing options at Ohio Wesleyan to attract more students. And then Smith Hall is finished with its renovation. It turned out really nice. And it's got and that's for freshmen, it's about 500 housing units. So again, very, very nice. Just millions and millions of dollars have been put into Ohio Wesleyan's residential facilities over the last 5 to 10 years, and it's really paying off. They really turned it around. You mentioned the open house. We got a Route 23 corridor call update from ODOT on Wednesday. That is to study alternatives to the Route 23 congestion that exists in Delaware County. And then we have an OCCO reception Wednesday, legislative reception at the State House. A lot going on, as always. That's all I got.
There is a lot going on. Commissioner Lewis.
I will defer to you on the Veterans Dinner, because that was great. It was, I believe, around 400 people. I attended a regional CCO, a Central Ohio Regional CCO meeting, and we toured two venues, very different venues. First was the Franklin County Corrections Center, which is still being built. It's going to be in 3 phases, actually. The first phase, $205 million. The second 2A phase is $900 million, and then another 7.5 for a parking structure. I was very impressed. Fortunately, Chief Balzer was able to go with Director Jackson from our jail, and I was hoping to get the chief. I know he had things to do, so he couldn't wait around for our reports, but be curious because I didn't get a chance to talk with him as to some of his thoughts. But when this is built out, it will hold a total of 2,800 total beds. But I can't say enough about what they're doing with this corrections center. It's a state-of-the-art center. They have specialized housing units for mental health and behavioral issue inmates. Touring everything was just amazing, as everything from the intake center throughout the whole thing to the outtake center, seeing the huge kitchens. I've never seen so many ovens. I've never seen so many, they have those things at McDonald's to do French fries. We're thinking, boy, McDonald's would love this. Washers, dryers. And so much of this, too, is based on the Stepping Up program. Also, preventing jail from being a recycling center for those with mental health issues. And so Franklin County has been instrumental in our progress on Stepping Up, and Cassie Neff has taken that program, along with the support of the sheriff and others, to a new high in Delaware County. And it was great to see Franklin County use some of these same principles in helping others. So it was great tour. And John O'Grady, Commissioner O'Grady, led the tour. It was built by Pizzuti, designed by Pizzuti. And Mr. Pizzuti was there too, along with another one of their engineers. Then we went over to the new Cruise Stadium, and they call it Lower.com Field. And so that was really something. We did get to see all the suites. We were on every level, and so many businesses have their plaque name already outside their suites. And we asked how much the suites were, but the person who took us around wasn't sure. So anyway, but what a field that is, and it's getting international attention, as a matter of fact, because our good friend Juan Carlos, who heads the soccer team at Area, knew all about it. So he's going to visit when he comes. Anyway, that's my report.
Very good. And I've been to a game there, so it is a beautiful stadium.
It is.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend because we're worried about quorum at regional planning executive, so I had to forgo going. But I'm glad it worked out so well, and perhaps I'll have an opportunity later to see the new jail. The only thing I have, just a couple items that kind of reinforce some things you've heard. The livestock auction, as Commissioner Benton alluded to, is something these young people spend a great deal of time. It's a lot of life lessons are learned there. But I don't think we ought to forget what makes this county so great is all the local people who come out in support of those young people and bid and make it possible to reward those young people because of their willingness to contribute. And I think that sometimes gets forgotten in the translation, but I'm impressed every year and I continue to be impressed. We had a little bad weather this year. It was a little wet and damp, but still a good turnout. And I think we all should be very proud of what's going on in our county. Not much to add to the veterans. The opportunity to acknowledge what our veterans have done for us and make it possible for us to live in this free country today should not be underestimated. And I'm often disappointed at some of the younger people today, and I don't think those lessons are being taught in the schools, and I don't think there's really an appreciation for what they sacrificed for these younger people today. And I don't know how we correct that. I wish the schools would do a better job, and I don't think they are in all cases. That's an editorial comment. And but those roughly 400 people, as Commissioner Lewis alluded to, these a lot of them are Korean, Vietnam, World War II veterans, and we should never underestimate what they sacrificed. And we all have relatives who have served in those wars, and they deserve our gratitude. I went to the Corsa retreat Thursday, Friday, which precluded me from attending the Brown Jug this year, and they promised they will never do that again. But the retreat was had on Thursday, Friday, and the Corsa retreat, really, it's 66 counties in our state are insured through the pooling of Corsa, and I'm privileged to serve on that board. And we have our annual retreat to make sure that we are literally covering all the bases to the benefit of these 66 counties. Jane sitting in the back, just my congratulations for the open house and the role that you played in that.
Yes.
You played a significant role quietly behind the scenes, and I know Don was there, as the commissioners all were there, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody that was there, and I apologize for that. And Marissa was there as well. And but thank you for making that go so very, very smoothly. And I think everybody who went through it very pleased and very impressed with what they saw and how their tax dollars were spent. This week I will be at the American Relief Plan Symposium, which is all day Wednesday. And so that's where I will be. And then the legislative event is that evening. So with that, I don't have anything else to add, other than I do believe we have need for executive.
We do. Resolution number 21-899, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of compensation of a public employee or a public official and for collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second, discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 21-899. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We're now in executive session.